We got a house full. Everybody go around and introduce yourselves.
I'm Steve. All right. Oh, well, Steve the conservative, I guess. Coming in here.
Not Steve the conservative.
I love it.
Steve the conservative view.
Yes, sir.
Yes, peace. Good day and good morning. This is Stevens Orozco, aka Houston's Problem Child, All Real Radio, Truth to Power. Shout out to the Waxaholics.
Uh-oh, here we go.
And Sam Blair on the air.
Sam Blair on the air. And are you
I'm
speaking?
Brittany, the camera girl.
Brittany. Okay, so Brittany, you're not talking. You're just here to hold the
No,
the
I
camera.
might talk a little bit. Just
You may talk a
but,
little.
you know,
Okay, well, then
we don't need to see my
please
face.
feel free to chime in if you
All
want
right.
to. Welcome. Happy Memorial Day. You know, Memorial Day's tomorrow, but this is the weekend. As we remember those who fought and died while serving this great country of ours. It sure needs protecting right now.
We're gonna have a lot more fighting and dying for this country. It looks like.
We haven't had a roundtable in a long time, and so much has been going on. This administration. It's like I don't know. I forgot who said it, but it's like being in dog years. Like because there's so much. It's like every 2 hours, it's something else, and I'm just I'm exasperated by it all. But still got to keep our eyes open. Still got to keep our ears to the streets. So where do we begin? I mean, this budget. Let's start with the budget.
Okay.
The budget is once again.
Well, what was it? $2 trillion oversight that they had, like a
Yeah.
mistake.
I mean, it's nothing but a tax increase for the rich. It ain't doing nothing but making richer people rich. And I wonder when you look at it now, especially with the CBO, what they finally came out with, like even his supporters, like he's killing you too. He's taking away all. I mean, like this is going to affect everybody that's poor. If you're making under, let's just say, $55,000 a year, you're probably pretty screwed if this goes through and everything gets taken away. I mean, this affects so many people. It's now like the haves and the have-nots.
The quote-unquote white middle class that got ignored by the Democratic Party, they're right now getting shafted by the Republican Party.
Yes.
Oh, okay, yeah. Just clearing that part.
Yeah. Hey.
Well, here I have a question for you guys. We're $20 trillion in debt right now, and take the Trump budget and just move it aside. Okay, let's put that aside before.
Because I do want to know what you think about it.
Yeah, I do want to talk about it. So my problem is that we're 20 trillion in debt. We were 10 trillion in debt before Obama. So this has been an issue long before Obama, and it's just getting worse and worse and worse. And I'm actually not blaming Obama for the debt problem. My issue is that we're going to get to a point where our entire financial system is going to be insolvable. It's just not going to work. We're going to have so much debt and our economy is going to crash. It almost did in 2008 with the bank system. We can all agree that that was bad. And if we don't do something about the budget, period, the government, the debt, then the system's going to crash and nobody's going to be helped by it at all. The government won't be there to give everybody the help that they need financially. So we need to start curtailing back. And as much as I hate to say it, we need to tighten our belts because we won't be able to help people 20 years from now or 30 years from now. $2 billion from this place, $20 billion. I don't know what the specifics of his budget, but isn't it time that we say, okay, we gotta tighten it up a little bit? What's wrong with saying that?
Well, I mean, you first asked to put his budget to the side, but then you bring it back at the end. It's kind of conflicting now.
No, I mean
the biggest thing is this: you're saying isn't it time for everybody to tighten up? But the budget literally loosens it up for the richest and the most billionaires. So why does it have to be the working class, the middle class, the lower class that have to tighten up, and not collectively the entire country, which includes the richest, to tighten it up? Because the richest are not tightening up nothing. They're expanding their belt. They're getting so fat that it's the seat's about to break off and they're going to fall on.
But they're not getting rich because of the government's budget. They're getting rich because of the investments that they've made in the stock market.
No, they're getting rich because
or
the government
their
opened
businesses or something like that. Trump's not making them rich. What he's trying to do is turn around and just cut the government and cut the spending.
Then you're ignoring the fact that the government has been run by the special interests, and they're getting rich because the government has been manipulated by the Wall Street execs and the corporations and all these people who are looking out for each other. One hand washes the other. So you're overlooking the fact that the people who are ruining the economy are the ones running the country.
I would agree with you, actually, yes, that there is a problem with Goldman Sachs and all these big financial companies because they were playing both sides of the election.
And to be fair, since I don't want to be accused as a Democrat, like Goldman Sachs and all the same folks that are behind the Democratic Party.
Oh yeah, I was going to say that the next thing I was going to say is they're helping the Democrats just as much as they're helping the Republicans and vice versa. I agree with you on that. We could probably, say, yes, there's some corruption up there, and yes, that there's some fat cats running things, but the problem is it's always been like that with this country.
Right.
It's always been the 1%. You go back to colonial times, it's been the 1% running everything. Okay.
Yeah.
My issue is that in any country that you go to that's successful, has a successful economy around the world, there's a 1% that's running things. My issue is that you have the government today who provides safety nets, provides some kind of social welfare for people, which I am not against. I think that we need some kind of system in there because the mom who's got 4 kids and working at McDonald's needs some help. There needs to be systems in place to help a decent amount of people. I'm not, just because I'm a conservative doesn't mean that I'm a terrible, heartless, soulless individual.
Right now, the party's making it seem that way, though.
Right.
But
and we have a regressive tax system, so why continue that trend?
So what I'm saying is that if the economy falls apart because we're $20 billion or $20 trillion in debt, then that system totally collapses and there's nothing for nobody at that point. And we as a society need to get together and say, okay, I want to help you, you want to help me. We have some serious financial issues in this country we need to straighten out. And the first thing we need to do is rein in the government and say, you got to stop spending $5 billion on an aircraft carrier.
Right.
I would be,
And all of the cuts are going toward the Defense Department. It's all to
I
beef up
would
the
be
military.
100% okay with giving free college education to everybody and not building that next aircraft carrier.
Well, you just lost a conservative affiliation.
No. It's not conservative. Whatever, it's being human. There is such a thing as
of course,
being
but there's the thing, mainstream-wise, conservatives have latched on to specific things that they won't budge on, so they would reject you. They would reject that notion.
They could.
And that's where we are right now.
Yeah.
It would be great if we could discuss economy and budgets and all stuff because of this week's revelation about the budget, but you said something very important. You said as a society, right, we have to come together. Right now, as a society, we have never been as united as ever people like to dream of, but we are more further apart than we ever been because of the instigation that happened racially with all the mainstream media emphasizing on the racism that's dividing instead of the racism that needs to be corrected. So basically, what we have the Republican Party through the party of Trump, through the campaign of Trump, flare up the alt-right, the white supremacy, the KKK, and all these affiliations, and it's gone unchecked. To the point that, black and brown folks don't really want to talk about the budget. They just want to talk about how this party right now is writing laws, especially here in Texas, to persecute these communities. So as a society, we can't even talk about the budget. We're just talking about living. So that's like one thing that we have to always kind of like circle back around to because we could be on this round table and talk budget all we want, but tomorrow SB4 is going to be knocking on people's doors. Or we have the detention centers that are being built, or we have the mass incarceration because Jeff Sessions decided to open up again the mandatory minimums and all stuff. So it's like, the budget is awesome.
I definitely agree with that because when I think about the budget, a lot of times I find myself concerning myself with the social services that are going to be cut, with Meals on Wheels not being able to perform for poor elderly people who disproportionately do tend to be black or Hispanic in those neighborhoods, or education being cut where we already have schools that are not receiving the type of funding that they need and being closed down, and kids not having access
Things to do.
Schools don't get the funding they need in the best of situations. Anyway, I mean,
very true, but we can't afford if they already are not receiving it. Yeah, I mean, money is just fine,
very specific
but
schools don't get the funding, and usually it happens to be low.
So I would like to know, what do you all think is the ideology behind all of this? Why are we going backwards? I mean, it really makes me think about
I think it's good
First
question.
Lady Michelle Obama when she was like you really have to think and ask yourself,
I mean,
why do they not want my kids to
it's-
eat healthy in school? Like, why do you want my kids to eat crap? Like, why is everything going backwards and getting worse for
Okay.
people?
I feel
Like, what
That's
one of the
exactly what I
countries
said.
as a business
It's you
rather
need
than
to
a country.
you need to save the system to keep what you can, to help where you can before you can't help at all. And that's, at
No.
least that's where Republicans, I think, want to be. They don't want to see the system fall apart. The lunch thing, I've seen more lunches thrown out by students because they don't want to eat what they were given because it was awful, and that whole lunch guidelines weren't helping anybody. But that's a whole nother
What, hers
show,
or
I
just
think.
period?
Just
Well,
hers.
it depends on the
after
school,
the
because the
stuff
school
that
that have lower budget, they get lower
They
budget.
couldn't
I
get
mean,
the
I've
food. They
seen
couldn't get the
kids.
food
I have
that
seen
was
kids get
required.
fed some of the most awful food in school lunches I've ever seen in my life, and they were throwing it out because it was nasty. And the government regulations that they put in for calorie content and for the food didn't do anything to help these kids who needed the food.
I mean, I think that goes back to the budget, though. Again, if you can't afford quality food, then you're not going to get quality food. You're just going to make sure that it matches those guidelines.
Yeah.
So all day long, you can say, "Oh, is it a food group? Doesn't contain one vegetable, one this, and one that?" And you can find yourself with a pizza at the end of the day because it meets the guidelines. But again, schools that need the money to do the things they do to perform, to have resources, are not getting that. Like you have Kashmir, they're calling it dropout high, and then you've got Carnegie as opposed to that, and Carnegie's doing just great. They've got a 99% graduation plus rate, and Carnegie has a dropout rate.
Right.
There's an issue there.
There's
a huge fundamental issue there.
There's a huge issue, and that's where we have a system that does not have free, equitable education for everybody.
Yeah, and you roll back on everything. You ask what's the ideology behind all this, and Republican or Democrat establishment is very specific. It's plutocracy. It's oligarchy. We already know that the most wealthiest people were able to control who goes to run and who gets to win, because it was all about who had the most money to do the campaign, entire campaign situation. You have to be able to afford millions of dollars to campaign and win any office. So it wasn't really ever built for somebody to represent the people. It's always built somebody to represent corporations and special interests. That's why Bernie Sanders exposed exactly the flaws in the system, because he was able to tap into social media, which has been revolutionary all around the world. And this was the example this past election, that social media could actually bypass the entire mainstream media and gain a larger audience, and gain larger funding, and gain a large exposure, and gain stadiums filled for Bernie Sanders when Hillary Clinton couldn't even fill up a gym stadium.
Well, I mean, the killer part was that he ended up getting torn down by his own party. But what
But it kills
really
the plutocracy and the
But
oligarchy. They made a decision.
Bernie Sanders did not enter this past election for the purpose of winning the nomination. He very clearly, I just finished reading Shattered, by the way, excellent book about the whole Democratic primary. He specifically came in to the contest for the purpose of bringing progressive issues to the front and mainstream discussion.
Right.
He believed that Hillary Clinton was too centrist, and that what needed to happen was that these progressive issues needed to be brought to the Democratic Party and brought on. And for that, I admire him, because one of the things that I think is really important in democracy is the extremes. The extreme left and the extreme right bring to the table these ideas for us all to discuss. And then we adopt what's good and we don't adopt what's bad. Bernie Sanders brought to the table the left progressive issues, and now we're discussing these progressive ideas in a more formal setting.
I wish you would have had a shot. Let's move on. We don't have much time. Let's go. The president is coming back from his international trip.
It was a mess.
It was. Even John Boehner said today
talk about
that
the
it was
push.
a total disaster.
Boehner said that he wakes up and he
the whole
thinks
thing was
hallelujah
a total
every day.
disaster.
I saw the entire group of world leaders snickering and laughing as he was going through a speech where he just was not even coherent.
Yeah,
He was
it's an
absolutely
embarrassment. If they
embarrassing.
thought Obama, it's I don't even have an adjective for it. But he's coming back to the mess of Russia, which,
I mean,
Russia. We've been on Russia ever since he looked into that camera and told them to look into Hillary's email. I'm like, yeah.
Collusion with Russia?
Well, they said that there may not be any
this
collusion. I mean, I've
conversation.
heard that. Like they've said that they don't see any evidence of collusion. That doesn't mean that there isn't anything there. There's so much that the public does not know.
CIA members testifying saying that they have seen. Look, let's make one thing clear. It's just that cyber warfare is modern day warfare.
Yeah.
And Vladimir Putin is a very smart man. He came up in the KGB. Trump came up in the Silver Spoon School. So, as far as intelligence wise,
He went to
Vladimir
the Wharton School of Business. That's
So,
yeah, but he speaks like a third, fourth grader.
Well,
So we have
so
to
do a lot of people.
we have to judge.
Not
we
if
have
you
to
went to a
judge-
school of-
right, like,
Come on.
I just want to be
Okay.
like, look,
Sorry.
listen. We are entering territory where the CIA may be preparing a JFK package for many people, because we are on shaky territory on international terms, stability-wise. We have the biggest military in the world, and there are folks that are not the president or Congress that make decisions based on that. Period. Because they're not going to risk the stability of this country for the egos of people who want to make a lot of money. Because right now, Vladimir Putin has been pushing through the Syria and through the Syria conflict, and also through what happened on Ukraine. He's trying to draw his lines. He's been calling out NATO, and then you have Trump bashing NATO in that speech. So people now say, you know what? You're trying to give the keys to this country to a foreign entity.
Yeah.
That JFK package will be wrapped up so tightly, and the fact that Putin has been involved with people being killed in the first place, people that were speaking out against him, all they will have to be like, well, I guess Putin got tired of Trump talking so much, and nobody will question it. Why? Because people are tired of the mess.
I think that he's really sloppy in almost everything that he does. Like, take for example, and I know it seems like something small and minute, but take for example when he was shoving aside the prime minister,
Yeah,
the
to
prime
get in
minister of
front.
Montenegro. But what he didn't consider was that Putin is sitting back laughing and going ha 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 because Putin wanted to kill the prime minister of Montenegro. Putin did not want the prime minister of Montenegro in NATO. So for our president to be pushing him aside, it almost, even if it's such a small gesture, it almost looks like he's allying with Putin because I don't like you, and
He is
and Russia
outlined with
doesn't
Putin. He
either.
threw the very
So,
country
I
that he's
mean-
running under the bus to Bill O'Reilly. Like, of course.
So, I
And
mean,
then
even
right
the
before the
tiniest
Super Bowl,
things,
I
like,
was
you
like,
know,
this
Things-
man doesn't
things
want to be
got
president.
really crazy and
He will
scary.
not say anything bad about
If you
Vladimir Putin.
noticed-
Ever.
If you notice, things ratchet up as far as like going after Trump and his administration, everybody associated with him with this Russia thing. The moment Trump kicked out all U.S. media and only let the Russian media and the
Right.
Russian prime minister inside,
all
and
he
then
had
to
was a
follow through,
photographer.
and
The Russians are spies, Steve.
I mean-
Like they've been
Well,
doing this
we
forever.
have
I
too.
would not be. I
Yeah,
bet
no,
the
you're right.
FBI had to sweep of the Oval Office after they left because they probably left some little minuscule microphone
and
somewhere
what did
to
Pu-
get things.
What did Putin say? He said like, "Hey, you guys want to know what was said in there? I got the tapes."
Right.
Like,
When he said, when I read
you
that,
wanna
I
be
was
in that
incredulous.
situation? Like,
Yeah,
this is
he
the
said
thing.
he had the transcripts. I said, wait a minute.
That
He's
was
got the transcripts.
If that was President Obama, that man would have already been impeached. We'll make that
And-
Oh, you know what?
Oh
I gotta
yes,
give it to Rick
I
Santorum.
agree with
I
that
gotta give it to
one.
Rick Santorum. At least he publicly said that it is hypocrisy. It is a double standard. Like he
Yeah,
admitted,
double
and Rick Santorum.
Oh, yeah, 'cause
hey,
of-
because everybody brings up like, what if this was about him? He was like, hey, I gotta, yeah, it's a double
And Steve-
standard.
and Steve,
It is
you're right.
hypocrisy.
They have spies. We have spies. That's the whole point. Why are you gonna let spies inside of your house?
Right.
Well, you shouldn't. I
He
mean, nothing-
divulged
nothing-
information
nothing
to
has
Russia about
changed.
ISIS. Who called?
He
would
did
you?
not divulge anything.
He
that wasn't
absolutely
printed.
divulged about-
he didn't.
that he got from Israel.
CNN published
Really?
a month earlier the story about the laptop bombs. That was no secret. That's all he talked about. Okay.
What about this thing with the president of the Philippines telling him that we've got the submarines
On North Korea.
On North Korea.
We
Like-
have this. Everybody
No,
knows
that's
that
what-
submarines
no,
out there.
no.
But well, who does
you don't-
that?
you
Like,
don't-
what's the point
You
of
don't do
that?
that.
It's not
It's
conversation
so bad that
starters.
the Prime
This
Minister
isn't
of Britain
conversation
said that we're
starters.
going to stop sharing intelligence
Okay.
on the Manchester
Yeah,
bombing
come on,
because
bro.
of leaks. Because he keeps running his freaking mouth.
Where do the leaks come from?
Him.
No,
Like,
they're
no.
coming from the media and the people that are in the White House.
Look,
And
I'm
transcripts
not going to like completely deny and say that the media now is now in to make sure that they do as much as they can to just push.
oh,
out.
I think there's a really
Of course,
concerted.
but this is the thing.
movement.
This is the thing. It's a mess.
Oh, of course,
And
I
everybody
agree.
in it made that mess because the media gave Trump so much free press.
Yeah.
So this is a mess. This
No,
is
the
one
media-
thing we
the
can say.
media
They
This
created the
it's
monster.
not. It's not on us.
Totally in the helping Hillary out every way they could, and they're just
Yeah.
irate that Trump actually won the election. They can't believe it. And so now there's this concerted effort by the media to bash Trump, to do everything they possibly can to destroy him.
It's not really bashing. We just
I
describe
think
what
he's
Wait, no,
himself,
he's-
Okay,
Steve.
so
He's- yeah.
All right,
I think
Casey,
I don't
tell
think
you,
he needs any help in that.
Yeah,
he ain't
showed
helping
him.
matters. I will agree. I
I mean,
agree.
that's what I'm
The
saying.
media didn't
Not
push
helping
the prime
matters,
minister.
but there are certain things like when they leak the phone calls, when they leak the classified information that's getting out there. That stuff should not be done. That should not be done.
This is the new era we live in now. That's the thing now. Because that's what Vladimir Putin realized his biggest power is that now with social media, now with the internet, now with all devices having some type of microphone in it, you could get hacked from far away just on your cell phone.
Yeah.
Then all he did was sit back and box people
All
in.
the bots that we saw during the election.
Everybody now is tuned in and tapped in. So everybody has to watch. Everybody got to pretend that they're a spy now. Yeah. And if you're going into public figure mode or politics or celebrities, you have to really watch out what you're saying and doing, because the moment you gain any type of influence, then it's going to be used against you, whatever you say around any device. Vladimir Putin understands this very well. That's why he made sure, Edward Snowden did not get to move once he got into Russia. He kept them. Mm-hmm. So the number one thing that was learned of his election cycle is that information is the key. Information. No, but this new era of hacking and cyber warfare. Yeah. So we're not operating in that, and we have a whole bunch of people in Congress that we still don't understand what social media is. Yeah. So they're behind. Mm-hmm. Because if you pay attention,
there's a whole generation of people who are behind.
Right, and that's what we're trying to do, catch them up. But the problem is, all the media, all the corporation, all that, they're owned by that generation.
And there's too much influence in it. Yeah, and that's why I mean, for all of the bad that the internet is all of the good that it is at the same time. I mean, it really is a double-edged sword. What do we say? I think, I don't know. At first I thought he'd be gone by summer. Now I'm thinking September. Now I'm thinking maybe Christmas.
They gotta first finish raiding. They gotta finish raiding the country first, get everything that they want, and then they'll be done with it.
And that's what the Republic. Yeah, that's what I think they're gonna do, because I even got people in D.C. that are saying
he's the ultimate.
The word on the street is that they cannot stand them. They just want to keep them there so they can get what they want. And once they get what they want, you are thrown under. Yeah,
he's the ultimate straw man, basically. Everybody focus on him. While everybody.
So Putin's pulling the strings, and then the Republicans are pulling the string. He's looking. Just
notice how quiet Pence is in this entire situation.
And he's a liar too.
Of course.
If you want to, I am not going to sit back.
He's just as worse. You impeach him, you got to deal with that.
You don't know all of this stuff. Please, Jeff Sessions lying. Pence is lying. All of Flynn is lying. He's not saying anything. Manafort. You got Jared. They're all like, they lie like I breathe.
They're all lying. They're all lying.
They are.
It's left and
it's
right.
Bad.
It's Goldman Sachs. It's everybody. I agree with you that there is a level of corruption and there's a level of influence that is way beyond our understanding.
And yes.
Our understanding.
I agree.
So, because there are people out there that are so powerful that they have no idea. You have no idea how powerful these people are. I'm not one of those.
Well,
and neither are you. And we're just trying to get on.
Well, it's been a wild ride. It's going to be a long, hot summer.
Yes.
Oh yes.
Please believe.
Especially in Texas, because we have what do you call it? Hio Abbott up there. Trying to do, I'm sorry, Nazi Abbott.
What is the name? Get it out.
Gestapo Abbott. Greg Abbott, my bad.
Greg.
Yeah. And
he got a role.
He literally just joked about shooting reporters.
No, he didn't. He had a target, and he said, "I should carry this with me to show reporters." His target.
Yeah. If I was a reporter, I'd take that as a threat after somebody body
slam. Why would you say that?
Right after a reporter.
I'm sorry. If a black man walking around with a toy gun, or not even that,
anything.
Why can't you walk around with a soda?
And they get scared and they shoot him down. Like Greg Abbott saying something specifically towards a reporter regarding a target being shot with a gun. Yeah, nah, I'm not gonna play back.
I mean, in this climate, that's not a cute joke to make.
Yeah.
Not anymore.
I mean, not anymore.
Not anymore. Too much has happened.
From Minnesota and slam a reporter and still get.
And we're talking about Greg Abbott, who also what was that he said recently? That Texas's economy is so larger than Russia that he's more powerful than Vladimir Putin. So his ego.
Did he say that?
Oh yeah, he said that.
I mean,
you know Texas can secede from the United States, right? Come on.
Yeah,
we do have a rainy day fund that's a little bigger than.
Why we over here trying to pass SB4 to keep getting these grants? Because if we got all this money coming in and we could be our own state, do we really care?
He doesn't.
That's because there's a Republican majority in the Texas state legislature, and they're all pumped up because of Trump. You notice Trump came to Texas about 3 times during the campaign trail, and Texas is never under any threat to be going to a Democrat. So he didn't have to spend that much time in Texas. He came plenty of times to be with Abbott, so their deals have been made. And that's what the first thing that started happening. Like we
Who is
have,
Cedric?
Don't make that face. It's absolutely
I
true
just-
because
no,
he said
I
the
just-
first thing on his agenda was passing SB4.
and
out
let's
of
make it
everything.
clear. And I'll draw
The
this for
biggest
you,
thing.
and you show me what kind of acrobatics you have, so you can try to avoid this at your conclusion. We have detention center being built in Conroe for 200,000 beds to detain people. You could call that concentration camp. We have SB4 that gives ultimate power to all authorities to start persecuting people. But then you have Greg Abbott come unannounced to Harris County to tell people unannounced, bypassing the mayor, bypassing any other county authorities, and saying that we have a gang problem in Harris County. He doesn't come or live in county. He doesn't know what Harris County even looks like in reality. And he said there's a gang problem here from El Salvador. Very specific. So somehow a gang from El Salvador, MS-13, Mara Salvatruchas, and very scary and very horrible people. But they have spread all around Harris County. I'm sorry, I haven't bumped into them. I keep bumping into the same folks all around this county. And that's not how gangs work. They work on turf bases. I didn't know they could claim an entire county.
They don't.
Basically, all of a sudden you have Greg Abbott saying we have to do gang operations.
6 weeks ago.
Let me finish. Let me
6 weeks
finish
ago, the neighbor across the street from my house
Uh-huh.
was arrested. He was an MS-13 gang
Okay.
member, and he was dealing drugs out of his house all day long, cars coming in and out,
Yeah.
whatever. I'm okay with that.
It sounds anecdotal because what I'm trying to tell you is that they've been chasing gang problems around Houston that they can't even really prove with fake gang injunctions that could define you as a gang member just because you have a tattoo.
That's not true. The book on gangs was written in Houston.
The good book on gangs was written by the police.
Yeah, in Houston. Gangsta in the house.
You're missing the point. It was written by the police because the police are a gang. They operate as a gang.
Okay.
They understand territory and turf and enforcement. And gangs only do what they can do. When you said drugs, where do they get those drugs from? How do they get into the country?
Mexico?
How do they get those guns?
Why does everything got to come from Mexico?
Okay, no, because this is conservatism. Now, let me finish my point.
Come on, man.
SB4, and then it announces a gang raids that are going to be state-led, like state law enforcement. So it bypasses law enforcement from local authorities like constables, sheriff's departments, and HPD. So all of a sudden, SB4 gives ultimate power, Gestapo power, to any gang raid activity that's going on by the state, and it's going to give them the detention centers, the correction facilities, their concentration camps, the full beds that they want. And that sounds like persecution of my people right there.
No, it's just fighting a gang. That's
Fighting a
It's
gang.
not that simple.
I think you're making it a lot more complicated than it is.
But why would you build a whole prison for one gang?
Why would you build
They're
a
not-
whole...
But why would you build a whole prison?
It's a
It's
detention
a
center.
A detention center.
The concentration
undocumented
camps are the undocumented, but after
Yeah, but how can you even?
after SB4, anybody
Me
can,
too.
Any law enforcement person can walk up to you and say, "Do you have the papers?" And then you're on the first bus to this concentration camp. So
Have you been to the detention center and seen their beds?
No, I have not.
Have you
It
been
looks
to
a lot
any
like-
prison to see how it
You
looks?
should check them.
Guys, this was so riveting. We got to wrap it up this Memorial Day
We cutting
weekend. The round table, Steve said, Sam, thank you.
Brittany.
Brittany, yes.
Yeah, and tell Greg Abbott I see him. I see you, Abbott.
we'll tag them.
Yeah.
He's so silly.
Hey, thank you guys for coming through.